Good evening, fantasy fans and fantasy endgame fam. It's Monday night. We still have one more game left before week 12 is up. Doesn't mean that we're not going to take the chance to look ahead to week 13. But first, break down everything that is and was week 12. So, our boy Keith is back. How's it going, Keith?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Hey, can't complain. Can't complain. The Dolphins are on a win streak somehow. I don't know if it's too little, too late, but we'll see. Um, yeah, this is when it gets serious though. Hey, playoff hopes are either coming true or dashed. And I think the one thing I feel like I took away from yesterday was I feel like we got a really good sense of which teams, the NFL teams, are just calling it a day. They're done, right? They just packed it in, like they're checked out. They already know. And yeah, they're professionals and they get paid and they try. And it's not like they don't want to win, but maybe you're not going quite as hard. I mean, they talk about those coaches who have lost the locker room. I mean, this obviously begins and ends with the Giants. That was close to an atrocity.
Yeah, that team top to bottom looked like they quit pretty much across the board. We heard after the game that Malik Neighbors kind of pretty called everybody out on the Giants, even his coach a little bit, saying he wasn't getting the ball. He definitely wants to win, but yeah, everybody else on that team feels like they are looking ahead to next season and possibly a coaching change. I almost wish we could say, hey, we can start everybody against the Giants going forward, but yeah, Baker didn't even need to throw. It was just all running game all day long, and the Giants just don't have that. They don't have that fire. They don't have that intensity. I don't think they're going to be capable of an upset. They look like a lock for the number one pick.
Yeah, which makes me a little concerned because my boy Cam Ward of the Miami Hurricanes, my favorite current player, my favorite team, might wind up with the Giants, and that's not what I really want. I'd rather go with a franchise, not obviously any of the top picks, the top quarterbacks, especially you're going to go to the worst franchises. That's why they need a quarterback. But, of all the bad rebuilding, whatever franchises, I'm pretty sure they're the worst, and that's not a situation I see getting significantly better soon. Although I will say, at least you got Malik Neighbors in place there. I guess that's something, but there's a lot more. They're not just a quarterback away. I don't.
Yeah, you got Malik Neighbors, you've got Tyrone Tracy there. I mean, you've got a lot of, and they have a decent defensive line, but yeah, all those guys pretty much just kind of tapped out on that team. They could use some more weapons offensively. They need a lot of help on O-line, and their secondary could be improved for sure. But I don't know if I'd go calling it the worst of the worst for landing spots. That might be the other New York team.
True. I feel like the Jets have more talent in place, though. They have a good defense, just hasn't come together. They got Breece Hall, got Garrett Wilson. I don't feel like there's a little bit more talent overall. I think they've just been kind of infected, poisoned, if you will, from within.
My feeling on leadership is it always kind of it always starts at the top and rolls downhill. You've got good ownership. That generally will translate into good coaches, good GM, and if that is good, that'll flow down to good players. We don't have good ownership for the Jets. Giants, a little bit better as far as that goes. We're not hearing about him wanting to bench. We haven't heard much drama out of the New York Giants ownership team versus the Jets. So,
good point. I guess in that sense, you're right. It could be worse. The Giants could use a guy that kind of takes the load off the quarterback situation. Dynamic player, like I don't know, like a Saquon Barkley. Man, imagine what a team like that would look like with Saquon Barkley.
Oh, yeah. Yes, what an elite team that would be with Saquon for sure. But I think everybody's thankful that he's on the Eagles. We are seeing a stud that's had been kind of mired in mediocrity on a bad team for years, and suddenly he's out. He's coming out. He is right now probably, if we were to do a draft today, he would probably be the first off the board. Would you agree with that?
Oh, easily. Easily, and especially now. And I would have said that a week ago, even before last night's game, but even so a week ago, because at the same time that you have these running backs, again, veteran running backs, which we try to not draft too high in fantasy, dominating. We see 3 straight games, Justin Jefferson. Where is he? What is he doing? Nothing. And then CeeDee Lamb is like, he's fine. Like, he's good. I mean, I scored a touchdown, but he's okay. And all these receivers you thought were going to carry you are at the same time just, they're fine, but they're not dominating. I mean, Jamar Chase is sort of the exception, but still, you got Saquon Barkley. I think at this point, you're pretty much nothing's for sure. Right? We don't know what's going to happen in the fantasy playoffs, but you're on the way to the top seed, hopefully, or the championship, because you have that one guy who now is carrying your team. And it's funny because so many people kept throwing out the narrative, well, Jalen Hurts is going to hurt him. I mean, Jalen Hurts is going to take all those touchdowns. And you're right, Jalen Hurts has run for a lot of touchdowns this year. Doesn't seem to have hurt Saquon Barkley, though.
No, if anything, it's made him even more determined to score. Like we saw last week, we saw the Jalen Hurts get the push touchdown, and then Saquon just responded, all right, and I'm going to get the ball, and I'm going to score even more. He's just unstoppable right now. And if he's breaking off these long runs on a regular basis, I mean, sky's the limit for him.
Absolutely. He's getting better as the season goes on. So like last year, just looking it up here, the Jalen Hurts ran for 15 touchdowns. That's insane. Let's just step back and think about it. This is a quarterback, right? Jalen Hurts ran 15 touchdowns so far this season, 11 in 11 games. He's on pace to run for even more touchdowns. And yet Saquon Barkley is still pretty much the undisputed fantasy MVP right now, leading rusher in the NFL, everything you could want in a fantasy running back. So yeah, no, I know I saw some people saying that, and I was like, no. I'm sorry. That better team, better by far offensive line, better everything means more success for a running back. And I also saw it put this way, like you think about it, Christian McCaffrey, when he was with Carolina Panthers, that didn't make the Carolina Panthers a great team, right? Derrick Henry was with the Titans his whole career. Tennessee Titans were not a great team, despite having him and that greatness. And no matter how much Saquon Barkley was going to do with the Giants are still, basically what they still are. And now they're just worse without him. And so running back and team context and situation, it has to match. And so for one to thrive, the other has to be there as well. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, you can't just be a run-first team with nothing else behind you. You need at least a guy that's going to keep the passing game available to you so that you're not facing 7-8 box to defensive lines. Also helps having a good defense that can force turnovers or get your offense back on the field so you can have the running back kind of grind away at the other team. So, yeah. And, yeah, the Philadelphia defense is also looking very, very good. That used to kind of be their Achilles heel. They are looking a lot better these days. Feels like the inevitable NFC championship might be the Lions and Eagles, and that will be a very good game.
Yeah, looking forward to that one. I know everyone's going to be pulling for Lions, and Lions probably right now are the odds-on favorite. See, come playoff time, it's a different beast. We'll see what happens. Team that might not be in the NFC championship game this year, maybe not even the playoffs, the 49ers. Talking about CMC there, he's back, and it really hasn't made a difference. They're still not winning. The offense is struggling. What do you think is the situation with the Niners? We have a lot of theories. Brock Purdy is banged up. He only missed one game. He's been there. Brandon Ayuk, his absence really shouldn't make that big a difference. Some people think they're just tired from that long playoff run last year. That's why it's so hard to repeat. We see only the team like the Chiefs able to do that, go deep in the playoffs year after year. But what do you think it is?
Super Bowl hangover definitely might be a thing. I definitely think there's some cracks in the coaching regime here because, we saw Deebo Samuel after a one-catch performance refuse to speak to the media. But apart from that, though, we're just not seeing great efficiency across the board. Brandon Allen, he's not it. But the other thing, too, here with CMC is that he's coming off of, he's had this Achilles flare-up for all season long. He's come back. He's kind of been mediocre all year. I don't know if we're ever going to see. I don't think we're going to see elite CMC this year. I do think we'll see him with better matchups get back to like good running production. Like he's still going to be an RB1 for me going forward. But the days of setting CMC in your lineup, not even having to think about it and get 20 points, I think that is not happening this year. It used to, like, we haven't seen CMC get this level of work with the amount of production that he's put up fantasy wise too. We did see I did notice that like 2 years ago, he kind of had the same fantasy production, literally the same exact span, weeks 10 through 12 of 2022. He almost had the same exact fantasy production, but that also was the 49ers kind of easing him into their system and kind of saving him for the playoffs. That ain't the case this time. The 49ers absolutely need to be winning games, and giving up a game to Green Bay, that pretty much means that it's win the division or bust, because Green Bay, right now for the playoff picture, they are very much on the outside looking in. Pretty much the only way for the 49ers to make the playoffs would be for either the Commanders, Vikings, or Packers to collapse, and they need to win out. Probably easier to just win the division for them. But, CMC, though, I'm on yellow alert with him. He does get the Bears this coming week, so that might be a good get-right game because they are not good at stopping the run. But, definite yellow alert for CMC for sure. Not panic mode yet, but concern. Major, major concern.
Yeah, and it's funny. I don't feel like anybody, even though their record was just fine. They were, I think, 500, and before CMC came back, nobody was really concerned. You just assume, they'll be fine. And now, since he's been back, they've lost 2 out of 3. And the one game that they did win, they barely won by 3 points. But we're seeing McCaffrey right now averaging 3.5 yards per carry. Granted, small sample, right? He's only played 3 games, but that's still concerning because this is the type of player that shouldn't struggle ever. And it's not like he's had these completely dominant defenses he's gone up against. So there's obviously something going on here. You can excuse yesterday because, okay, there's Brandon Allen, a quarterback. They didn't really have to respect the passing game too much. I understand that, but he was not explosive before that. And now you got to wonder, are we getting 80% CMC, 70%? What are we getting? Or is he just afraid to trust himself, right, when he cuts, or is the explosiveness not there? That's the concern. And I'm thinking you're not regretting that trade we made early in the season when you gave me CMC for, what was it, Jamar Chase?
Yeah, I was going to say, for Jamar Chase and Stevenson, I also gave you Olave, but that's looking like a very lopsided trade for me for sure.
For just to clarify, this was before he was even put on IR. This was like after week 1 or something like that.
We knew he was going to be out for week 1 at that point.
Right.
That was it. But yeah, we had no clue whether it was going to be out long term.
Yeah. So you're welcome. Look, said this as far as people going for it and buying CMC. Like if you're still able to trade in your league and you're thinking, oh, I'll buy low, I'm saying no, and I'm assuming you're saying the same.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be a pretty buy low offer. It would have to be something like Bucky Irving for CMC, or somebody that had. I would say if I can get a low end RB1, high end RB2 for CMC, I would do it. I think we got a prime buy low window on Connor. I don't know if he's going to be more effective than CMC rest of the season, but the schedule for the 49ers does let up a bit. But my biggest concern is just we haven't seen a big boost from him than we did from Jordan Mason when he was the bang guy. So if we're not going to get that kind of production out of CMC, then, I mean, I would need a pretty low ball offer for me to go pick up CMC.
Yeah, and then that said, on the same topic, guys like Deebo, It's not come through. Juwan Jennings, I mean, again, yesterday, fine. Didn't have Purdy, but Deebo now, it's been a couple of games as well. He's just not producing. What do you make of him?
There's definitely something going on in that locker room that I was going to say we're definitely on the outside looking in, but there's some issues going on with the 49ers for sure. I think it is related to coaching that Kyle Shanahan needs to get Deebo a little bit more involved. I don't know why he's not being targeted. I mean, Kittle's been fine, Jennings fine, but I mean, Deebo is there. Deebo is a great player. I don't know why we can't get him more than one screen or two for per game. It's his production has been awful. He's been a big disappointment. I'm not really sure what we can do for him, and just if we can get him some screens, he'll be all right. But I mean, he's just not being utilized well in that offense at all.
Yeah, it's the kind of player, just put the ball in his hands, right? That's it. Just find a way. Malik Neighbors, unhappy. Makes sense. Team just got embarrassed, but Deebo is the one who, I guess, wisely didn't speak to the media because he would have said some things that he might not be able to take back, but he should be frustrated because he has definitely proven himself, and this is a team that should be winning and very least not getting embarrassed like the Giants. So, I don't know. It's like you can't cut him. At least you shouldn't cut him. You may not be able to trade him, and even so, you're not going to get much right now. But you can't trust him either. So I think right now he's just a risky flex option. Just like, man, do I have someone I feel better about? And you very well might. What about, on a positive note, about Jalen Waddle? It's a guy we had zero trust in, and you can thank Chris because he did say to avoid him this week, and so that was the cure. That was the magic cure. No, but really, Jalen Waddle had done absolutely nothing since week 1. And he even said, there's going to be a random week where he goes off and everyone buys back in again. And there it was. It was week 12. Does this mean he's back? Are we in on him, or is this going to be a trap?
I don't think he's going to be a trap. I think what we're looking at here with the Dolphins is kind of like prime the 49ers last year is right now they have Achane, they have Jonnu Smith, they have Tyreek Hill, and they have Jalen Waddle. When Tua's on his game, I think 3 out of those 4 guys are going to have good games. Somebody's going to be left out, kind of star for targets and be a disappointment fantasy-wise. Who that's going to be, I think that's going to vary week to week. I think we might get some clues just based off of matchup and depending on what's going on. But I think I would go so far as to call Jalen Waddle a solid start, but I'm not putting him any higher than that. Maybe even just a high-end flex just because everybody's on this week. We have no buys. Everybody's playing. So, but yeah, I would feel comfortable putting Jalen Waddle in my lineup if I have him anyway. But again, depends on options.
I'll ask you to expand on that since my dogs are barking.
So if we've got a guy who is a bad secondary, I will take Waddle. If we are going up against a team that is weak with tight end, then maybe Waddle is somebody I would avoid for that given week. Because I mean, probably the biggest surprise has been Jonnu Smith. I mean, I've been doubting him all year. He's for sure legit. Maybe I was going to say Kyle Pitts was holding him back during his time in Atlanta. But kidding aside, Jonnu Smith looks like he is going to be a main focus for the Dolphins going forward. I think in a matchup that's where the tight end is, or where the defense can defend tight end, you may want to start Waddle. But I'm going for solid start with Jalen Waddle.
All right. Well, at least he's somewhat back in the circle of trust, and I think we can't just ignore what happened in week 12. At the same time, we don't want to overreact. Oh, okay, let's just forget the first 11 weeks of the season. Part of it, of course, Tua was gone for several games. The part of it is to Jonnu Smith, like you said, emerging. That's not going to stop. Obviously, he's still, again, had a big game. And then, like, I think the point you made is probably the most valid is there's only so many players in this offense that are going to be productive. And so yesterday, Waddle was going off, and Tyreek Hill, he didn't do much. We're used to Tyreek Hill just automatically having a huge game. He hasn't had a lot of huge games either this year. So, and then with Achane emerging as well as a receiver, it's going to be one of these annoying situations for fantasy. You're just going to have to pick and choose who you think is going to be productive. And somehow the most consistent has not been Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle. It's been Achane and Jonnu Smith.
Just like we all thought it would.
Just like we all thought. But you know what? For what it's worth, I think that this is by design. The Dolphins want to be a little bit more conservative with their offense, less turnovers, risk less sacks, less deep throws. And part of it is also because teams are just telling them you're not going to throw it 50 yards down the field to Tyreek Hill and let him score like that. You're not going to throw it to Jalen Waddle down the field and get a quick touchdown. You're going to have to work underneath. That's benefiting the tight end. That's benefiting the running back out of the backfield. That means shorter receptions for Tyreek Hill. So it's working because they're winning. It's just annoying for fantasy. But oh well. Now, speaking of the Dolphins, before we talk about tonight's game, we're still waiting to see where Daniel Jones winds up. And you and I were talking already before this, and I already mentioned this a couple of days ago. As much as I hate to say it, I think the Dolphins probably make the most sense. Do you think that that's where he actually ends up? Some people are talking about the Vikings now, although Sam Darnold just came off a really good game. I don't know. What's your thought?
So there's three teams I think that really make a lot of sense. And as far as being a backup on a contender, which Daniel Jones has said this is what he's looking for, I think only the Ravens and the Dolphins make any kind of sense. He makes an upgrade on their backup quarterback there. Josh Johnson for the Ravens, Daniel Jones would fit their offensive scheme a lot better. And we saw with Tua, if he goes down, the Dolphins struggle. And even when they pulled Tua during the matchup with the Patriots, Skylar Thompson's second play, he fumbles a handoff. Say what you will about Daniel Jones, he won't do that, at least. At least I don't think he will. The other team I think I could also see him on is the Raiders. They have some issues at quarterback right now. Minshew done for the year. They're hoping Aiden O'Connell can come back from IR. He may not be ready. Taylor Heineke's not it. And if Daniel Jones wants to actually start, that might be the way he wants to go. Try out with the Raiders, see how the rest of the season goes. If they end up on an upswing, maybe they sign him to a fairly decent contract and go from there. But Raiders are also right now tied with the Giants and Jags for the number one pick. So maybe they don't want to mess that up.
Yeah, he wants to play with a contender. A big shock, of course, everyone does, but it doesn't mean that a contender wants Daniel Jones necessarily. It's got to be mutual. So he might be in his best interest, like you said, to go for a team that doesn't have a quarterback, just to get a tryout, just to show, hey, I still got it, whatever it has ever been for Daniel Jones. So, it'd be interesting to see what happens, and it would be too funny still and fitting if the other New York team decides to put their current quarterback on IR or cut him or whatever they're going to do with him and then put Daniel Jones at quarterback. That would actually be really hilarious.
It would be hilarious, but as far as seeing that happen, I mean, we've seen the Jets make all sorts of bad decisions, so it wouldn't shock me much, but that would be an utter disaster. Are we really not going to give Tyrod Taylor a shot at the very least? Like, come on.
Oh, it should be Tyrod Taylor, but again, that would just be really funny. So hoping it happens just for that, just for sheer entertainment's sake. You got cut and replaced by Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers. All right, and then tonight we got a game. I know some people have questions still. We'll answer your questions pretty soon. and get to any of the maybe last minute start sit questions if you have. I got a lot of good players going tonight's game, or maybe you're ready for next week, whatever it is. You want to know if you have a chance to win. So we'll get to that. But quick thoughts on tonight's game, because we have two good teams, which is always nice, an exciting game. We have two good defenses. I know we always think when there's good teams, lots of points and good fantasy outcomes, but these are good defenses in prime time. Sometimes it lets down. So what are you expecting? What kind of game?
Well, so we did just get news about Roquan Smith going to miss tonight's game. So that will definitely benefit the Chargers, and in particular, Will Dissly in the run game. But we could see, I think we could be in for a bit of a shootout here. The Ravens, I mean, sure, they tightened up their defense last week, but they had Roquan Smith in there, and that man is an animal. This week, without their prime leader at linebacker, could be dicey. It could be the same Ravens defense we've been seeing for a while. Not particularly great at defending much. Good run stopper, but pass funnel defense. Yeah, they might get exploited a lot tonight. Ladd McConkey looks like he's in. So, our injuries tonight look favor a shootout. I'm excited for tonight. I think we're going to be in for some good football.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. A lot of people had been asking over the weekend about Ladd McConkey. Do I wait? Do I not? And, obviously too late now. If you waited, you're either starting him or you're going to have to do a last-minute pivot. But he's good to go, and you don't need to go to like a Josh Palmer type. It should, on paper, be a big game for Justin Herbert, Ladd McConkey, possibly Quentin Johnston, and of course, Will Dissly. We'll see if that happens, though. We'll see if that happens. And then in Baltimore on their side, again, going against the Chargers D is pretty tough, but you got Lamar Jackson, possible MVP again. Who knows? Derrick Henry. I think that when you're talking Derrick Henry versus tough run defense, I'm going to pick the Henry side most times because you just never know when he can break one. But it'll be a good game if nothing else. So we'll let you guys know if anything changes throughout this stream, any news that breaks. But right now, before we get to your questions, quick reminder. I know you guys are almost always already on Underdog, but just so you know, they still have that promotion as far as you use code Endgame, you get your special pick, and it is for this week Jordan Love on Thanksgiving. It's feast week, and trust me, that means not just the freebie, the free pick on Thursday with Jordan Love just getting 1 yard, but also they're gonna have all sorts of goodies for you on Thursday and throughout the week. So check back in Underdog. If you already have an Underdog account, check and see what the promos are. They usually give you notifications on your phone. But again, feast week, new customer special for this week is Jordan Love getting 1 yard on Thursday. Make sure you use code Endgame when you first sign up to get that, plus the bonus cash for your first deposit. So now let's talk tonight. Rusty just wants to know that he's good. Quentin Johnston versus Justin Tucker, down by 1 point. Yeah, look, we can't all know that Jalen Waddle was going to randomly go off, but what do you think? The receiver or the kicker?
I'm going the receiver here. I assume it's PPR, but Justin Tucker has not looked great all year. RIP to all those teams that drafted Justin Tucker in the 9th, 10th round, because if you play with kickers, bad enough, although I'm kind of coming around on it just because people go nuts with these kickers. They draft them in so early, and Tucker was one of them. What a disappointment he's been. Yeah, he should be fine with Quentin Johnston for sure.
Yeah, Justin Tucker is not vintage Justin Tucker, but also, again, QJ against this Ravens secondary should be productive. Look, maybe he doesn't go off. No error, no guarantees for a touchdown, but I think he can get you at least double digits. Sunit wants to know if he can win with Lamar and Henry. Got 68 to 116. That's kind of a big hole to climb.
Yeah, it's 48 points. I mean, and it would be nice if Derrick Henry were a pass catcher, and I actually think I'm down to this similar position with this same exact. I think I have a team that's pretty much in the same boat. It's 62 in that one. And yeah, same situation. I got Lamar and Henry going up, but Henry's not catching passes. So you may be struggling tonight.
You're going to need a big game from both, which is possible. Like I said, like Derrick Henry could always be good for 20, Lamar, but yeah, you're going to need the Ravens to put up a lot of points in general. So good luck is what I'll say. J1364, thinking of trading Love and Smith for Jefferson. So we talked about Jefferson earlier struggling. Is this a time to try to buy low on him, or is this take a step back and say, wait a minute, maybe JJ is not going to be an elite receiver down the stretch because suddenly, for absolutely no reason, Sam Darnold only has eyes for Jordan Addison?
I think now is a prime window to buy Jefferson if you can. He had a bad game last past week. It's the Bears, though. We've seen lots of teams struggle against the Bears. If a team is going to narrow down on one guy, Donald wisely went for Hawkinson and Jordan Addison last week. So you might see teams scheme a little bit differently, but we know Justin Jefferson's talent. He's going to be fine. Go get Jefferson. And, yeah, the price you're paying is Geno and May, QB. Yeah, if I'm assuming – yeah, as long as this isn't super flex, I make this move all day. This is one QB. This is a smash. Even if it is super flex, though, I think I'd still do this too.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Love also slightly disappointing. I mean, I know they didn't really need to pass, and Josh Jacobs got all the touchdowns, so you don't hold it against him. But overall, I feel like it's been a little underwhelming as far as Jordan Love's fantasy season. He's not a guy I feel like I must hold. And Devontae Smith, again, who knows? He might be back next week, but I'd definitely rather have Jefferson. So I think this is a good trade. Ricardo had asked earlier about Ladd not playing. Ladd is playing, so you don't have to worry about that. Up 1.44. Opponent has Dobbins. You got Herbert. That's good. And Ladd. Yeah, you just keep the stack.
Congratulations, you got this.
Yeah, you got it. I think even without Ladd, you'd still be able to win. But yeah, you definitely got this. Michael Callahan. Mooney, Warren, and QJ are available. Would you drop either D-Hop or Dell?
D-Hop is interesting for a drop. He had his lowest snap or route percentage of the year other than his debut game with the Chiefs this week. I do think he'll have some value going forward. I would definitely drop either of these guys for Mooney. Warren and QJ, though, half PPR, I might back off it. Yeah, I feel like dropping Dell or D-Hop for Warren or QJ is more of a lateral in my book. I would drop them for Mooney for sure, though.
Yeah, D-Hop is so frustrating, and we spoke a lot about this before Sunday. You just don't know how he's going to be used. And honestly, other than the touchdowns he's gotten, he kind of got bailed out by that one late touchdown yesterday. But if you take touchdowns out of the equation, he's only had one actually good, productive game receiving as a Chief. Just the yardage isn't there, not getting targeted enough, not being out there. You almost wonder if they're kind of saving him for the playoffs or just trying to use him sparingly, or they're like, yeah, we can beat any of these teams without having to do anything much. It's like the Chiefs are almost like toying with teams.
Mahomes just spreads the ball out so much. He always has.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I think I would go Mooney probably over either of them. Although I will say I'm a little bit more worried about Dell and the Texans. So if I actually was going to drop somebody, I think it might be Dell first. Gabriel. Good afternoon. Pulled out another win, unless King Henry goes for 29. Let's just say you got it. Okay, tight end question. Noah Gray, Ooh, better than Kincaid.
Unless this is Dynasty, I am not there yet with Noah Gray. I do think he's the heir apparent to Travis Kelce. I think if you have Kelce and you're not contending on a Dynasty team, you need to get rid of him pronto. But yeah, Noah Gray, if he didn't catch those 2 touchdowns, he is not even just another tight end. He's kind of a blah one at that. He's, as far as I'm concerned, Noah Gray is the same status as Isaiah Likely. I'm not. Is he better than Kincaid? He's probably right around the same ballpark. Maybe Kincaid's a little notch above, but yeah, I am not buying all in on Noah Gray. Not yet.
Yeah, it's funny, this question, because 2 weeks ago on the end of the waiver video, I do the cut list, right? Talk about players that I think you can drop, and I mentioned Kincaid. They were on bye, but then also it's like, what has he done? Really, what has he done this season? There's no ceiling. And then this week I talked about Noah Gray. Now I will say a couple things. First of all, we know this is what happened last year with Noah Gray. He had a couple of big games. We're like, hey, Noah Gray, and then he does nothing. We just talked about the Chiefs spreading the ball around, being really unpredictable and frustrating. But I did notice that besides the touchdowns, Noah Gray actually had more receiving yards than Travis Kelce. They are using him. In 2 games, Noah Gray has shown a higher ceiling than Dalton Kincaid has had pretty much all year. So I'm not buying into Noah Gray all in, like you said. But for Kincaid, sure. I'll take a chance that he scores a touchdown. Because Kincaid's not scoring touchdowns. And I mean, I did also, part of the reason I kind of reluctantly used Noah Gray on the waiver wire video is it's another good matchup this week. It's a great matchup for a tight end. So maybe he pulls out one more good game before he goes back to being irrelevant. So I'd say, sure, you could do this. Just know what you're getting. I wouldn't say I'm going to roll Noah Gray rest of the season at tight end. In the fantasy playoffs, no, I wouldn't do it. This week, sure. All right, Michael Cazares is down by about 20, but with Herbert left. What are the chances?
This is probably going to be a coin flip and a big old sweat for you. If it's 6 points, I think you can maybe take it easy. If it's 4-point passing, it's going to be a big sweat. Probably be watching this all night. But you got a chance for sure.
Yeah, again, on paper, this should be a good game for Herbert. Ravens secondary, but no guarantees. So you're saying any chance? Oh, yeah, you definitely have a chance, but it's going to be close. All right, now Allen is down by 19. With Lamar and Flowers left, it's not impossible, but he should win.
I mean, concussion can happen to anybody at any play. So, but yeah, Lamar and Flowers, you should have this in the bag, barring an injury.
I mean, we've seen Flowers do very little. He could have another 2-3 point game, but Lamar alone should get you enough. So,
yeah, Flowers, if he even puts up like another one of those 4 or 5 point stinkers, you just need 15 from Lamar and you're set.
Yeah, so I wouldn't say it's impossible, but you should win. All right, Pedro Nevares is up 40 and got Flowers, but going against Lamar and the King and Dicker the kicker. What do you think? This is, it's a non-PPR league. Oh, wait, no, this is a different one. All right, sorry. So we got 2 different questions here. So this is PPR, 40 and Flowers versus Lamar, Henry, and Dicker.
Flowers is going to boost Lamar's numbers up. So Henry, I think you're also looking at a coin flip here. I can see this going either way. Yeah, honestly, this is going to be a very, very close one, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah, this could go either way. Honestly, you just need Flowers to get you something, which he should. So if I had to bet, I'd probably go with your side, but it's maybe a 60-40 here. And then is it possible to pull off a win on a 10-team non-PPR? Got Herbert left, down 7. Yeah, you should be able to.
Herbert, just 7 points. You should have this.
And a cerulean dog. Herbert needs 27 for him to go down. Should be good.
You should definitely be good here.
Yeah. And then, what's up, Brian? Back from a cruise. Must be nice. Must be nice. Where'd you go? That's all I want to know. Pictures. Come on, send pictures. Sir Boomer with her early happy Thanksgiving. Thank you, Boomer. George Brennan. Ooh. Trade Terry McLaurin for Puka Nacua.
I would definitely do that. Puka's getting fed a ton. He's looked great out there. I was kind of wondering whether or not Puka would be able to do it again for his second year, and he looks great. I mean, the only thing that would maybe I'd rethink this is if you've got any long touchdown bonuses, because, I mean, we saw it last week. McLaurin got that awesome last-minute touchdown that still ended in heartbreak for the Commanders. But, Terry is a good receiver, but I like Puka better for sure.
Yeah, and any other receivers work. And I don't know if you're asking if you can pull this off. I mean, I don't know if somebody would take Terry for Puka. I mean, I would definitely rather have Puka. You could try it. Never hurts to try.
Doesn't hurt to ask.
Exactly. Cody Greenwood is up 16. No players left. Opponent has Henry and Dobbins. Cooked. I don't know. Medium, maybe medium well.
I think you're definitely a medium well as far as Cook goes. I was going to say, I mean, I'd love to tell you that you're going to win, but I am thinking 75-25. You do not win.
Yeah, but you never know. So don't give up hope. Hold on, let me do this. Sammy, does Jaden Reed have any value rest season?
I mean, he's definitely got some value. It's just kind of like with the Dolphins that we discussed earlier. It's just predicting where when is Jaden Reed going to go off. And I mean, the other wrinkle you got now is Josh Jacobs looking elite. 3 touchdowns. He looked unstoppable maybe not unstoppable, but he looked pretty damn good. And if this is a team that, if the Packers defense has also been fairly good too, so they kind of can be a team that just kind of coasts to victory by leaning on Jacobs and their defense to win games. I do think they'll have to get into shootouts at some point down the line. But yeah, he definitely has some value. But as far as flipping him right now goes, good luck, because it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
I mean, I'll say he has value in terms of keeping him on your roster. I wouldn't drop him, but that's exactly right. What he said down low, it's like he is the most talented receiver they have, but they just don't use him as much. My biggest L for this week was Jaden Reed. It was a great matchup. Could have gone. The Packers, I even said, I told Chris before the game, or actually it was during the very beginning of the game, and we were texting, and I told him, I was like, yeah, the Packers, they're going to stomp the Niners this game. And they did. And Jaden Reed still did nothing because they just didn't need to. 3 targets. So that's what's really frustrating is like coulda, shoulda been a big game, but he's just not getting the target share. And, this is the lesson learned here is just you cannot trust certain offenses in terms of usage. The Packers receivers, to some extent, the Bears receivers, Kansas City, period, just the whole offense. It's like they change things from week to week. Some teams do, some teams don't. So Jaden Reed is one of those players that you probably prefer in best ball than in redraft because you never know when to start. So it'll have some value, but just good luck pick and win. So Sir Broomer also wants to make sure that we know playoffs are clinched. He's in 10-2. Very nice. Taking the next 2 weeks off to reflect and grow as a person or not. All right. either way, stay with it. Don't just settle at 10-2. Go for the top seed. You want to win every round, don't you? Cap for life. What was up?
Playoffs bound. Awesome. I was going to say, if you have clinched for the playoffs, now would be the time to kind of eye those week 15, 16, 17 matchups and make sure you got good guys there and you're not going up against rock-solid defenses or anything particularly painful for that particular stretch of time. So, yeah, I would just kind of roster and make moves accordingly. Especially that, like right now, there might be some gems on the waiver wire. Guys that have been dropped for week 12, and you might see it happen again with week 14 with the next apocalypse we have going on. But yeah, if you are bound for the playoffs, now is the time to start looking at those matchups weeks for the playoff weeks.
All right. What about George Brennan, Connor, or Kyron rest of the season?
Kyron finally scored this week. Connor disappointed. I definitely think it's Kyron if assuming he holds up, he doesn't come down with an injury. Connor, I still like. I think it was just a bad game going on the road against Seattle. Division games can always be weird, and Seattle's defense has looked pretty good over the past couple weeks. So, but yeah, I think Connor will get right. I don't see him ceding snaps or anything to Trey Benson or Amari DeMarcado yet. Benson would probably be the guy to watch, but I mean, the usage isn't there yet.
Yeah, some people are worried about Kyron. He sort of got right last night. I mean, he scored a touchdown. We've been waiting for that, which is good. Running, against a tough Eagles defense, he ran pretty well. Surprised he didn't get involved at all as a receiver. It's kind of unusual, but I mean, he's still pretty solid. Connor got to wonder because he's been far less efficient lately. And then lately, I know it's just, 2 games, right? They had the bye. But man, the last 2 games, he's been just running into a wall. I mean, barely getting any traction. But then suddenly they're using him as a receiver more, which is helping him out for fantasy. But it's a little concerning that his rushing average has plummeted lately. So I'm going to keep an eye on it. Let's just put it that way, because what worries me a little bit more is that they do have Trey Benson there. They did just draft Trey Benson. So I'm still starting Connor if I got him, and I'm not panicked, but I'm keeping an eye out. Let's put it that way. Frosif wants to know if you like the idea of moving off of Garrett Wilson, or would that be an overreaction?
I mean, it depends on what for. I don't hate the idea, but I also think that, I mean, Garrett Wilson's also got a contract to think about. He's still on his rookie deal. He's not going to be labeled as a guy who's packing it in and just giving half-assed effort out there on the field. I do think he's your wide receiver 3 out of this group for sure. If you're in a league that's starting 3 wide receivers, I mean, I'd shop him, but I wouldn't go panic selling him or undervaluing him by any stretch. I mean, depends on the matchup, but I mean, I definitely would take him over Waddle and JMO 90% of the time.
Yeah, if there's someone I would want to just get off of, because who knows, would be Devontae Adams, because if his best friend who he demanded a trade to go join with is suddenly not the quarterback anymore, like what's his motivation? This team is out of the playoffs. He's not catching passes from Rodgers, So I wouldn't move off of Garrett Wilson just to move off of him. But you have good receivers, Puka and Evans, and the JMO as a solid third. I mean, look, I will say this: if you're worried about Wilson, you don't have to start him. If you want to start JMO on a given week, maybe Waddle, but if you can get a good running back in exchange for him still, which I don't know if you can because Garrett Wilson hasn't done much lately, I'm okay with that. Saab 92, Dobbins or QJ, half PPR. Yes, tonight.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I'd go Quentin. The Ravens defense doesn't, I mean, up until last week, they hadn't looked great against the pass whatsoever. Dobbins, sure, he might be involved, but this is a team that until last week was a pass funnel defense. They stopped the run. You can beat them through the air. Quentin Johnson also has touchdown upside. So does Dobbins to a lesser extent. But, I mean, this could be a Gus Bus week. We could also see Hassan Haskins. He could also vulture a touchdown here too. So, yeah, I'm feeling better about Quentin Johnson than Dobbins this week.
Yep. Same here. The matchup points to Johnson being the better option. So unless you really want to buy into the revenge game thing, Dobbins against the Ravens, maybe he goes berserk, but I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it. Francisco Casco, big fan. Thank you. Tied tonight. He has Dobbins. I have the kicker. What do you think?
He has Dobbins. You have the kicker. If you're tied, I think I gotta go Dobbins. But if you've got I'd say a 6-point lead. I think you got this. And yeah, you say you have a shot at Dobbins as a score. Yeah, that's valid. That's valid. But yeah, if you've got a 6-point lead going into this with the kicker, I think you're in good shape regardless.
It's going to be close. It's going to be close. You're just going to have to hope for the Chargers offense to stall out in the red zone. Drone Force went from 2-5 to 7-5. Nice. Again, this is what we say. It's not how you start. It's how you finish. Jaden Daniels, Cup, McLaurin, Barkley. Well, there you go. I think it's got something to do with it. Mm-hmm. Monty, Njoku, Tyreek. And yeah, you've got a good team. I will just say this real quickly. Monty, I left him briefly on the injury report. Sounds like he's going to play. No big issue here for Thursday. He said he's good to go. I guess we'll take his word for it. So hopefully Monty is good to go. And then Trone is also saying this, feeling unsure about Tyreek and McLaurin. Should I trade away either of them to get a guy like Chase Brown?
If I'm trading away Tyreek, I mean, I would understand wanting to get away from him a little bit. This wrist injury does seem to be a thing, and I think you would get more value for Tyreek than you would McLaurin. So if I could get Chase Brown, doesn't feel like enough for me for Tyreek. Although if it were me, I think I would do this though. I think you can get if you're trading away Tyreek, I think you can get Chase Brown plus a little something, maybe like a handcuff or like a kind of a waiver wire candidate player. But yeah, I would definitely do that for sure. McLaurin, the thing with him, like, we know what Jaden Daniels can do. He throws that football, and at any point, McLaurin can get a 50, 70-yard pass, and boom, your week is made. Yeah, I would definitely consider trading away Tyreek, but how's the rest of your Cup, McLaurin, Jason, Mooney, D-Hop? Yeah, I'd say trade away Tyreek, get Chase Brown, and maybe a speculative guy.
Well, yeah, I would say because you are pretty deep at receiver, Jason now looking like an every week start. Mooney is a guy you can start and feel pretty good about most weeks. Yeah, I think that's doable. Okay, Brian Furman. Lad or Quentin, don't know the context here, but who would you take?
PPR Lad, half or less Quentin.
Quentin. Wow. I'm going Lad either way. Just feel better about his target share.
Touchdown upside's why I made my choice. But yeah, Lad will definitely catch more passes than Quentin Johnson for sure.
Right. Hopefully, whoever it is, you pull it out, Brian. So Brian's got something here that he needs 27 from Flowers. This is a league that he's in with you.
Yeah, I was going to say I run this one, and yeah, the way I do scoring is PPR, point per first downs, and also some long play bonuses should say get a nice play. But 27. You need Flowers to have a big, big game here. Catching a lot of passes. He needs to be a target hog. That or a long play, and I think you're also in for a sweat here, Brian. I think if I had to put money on it, I would say 40-60 you lose. But I root for you, though. Yeah, you're not playing against me, so.
So either way, it's fine. Yeah, like Flowers, the point for first down helps certain players. He's not exactly like a chain mover type of guy. He would need a ton of targets. It's not it. You always have a chance. So there you go. And Rachel also a little nervous here. Rachel Botaro needs Zay tonight. Hey, I would be a little nervous too. He's either boom or bust. I did pull out the set. I'm really curious to see if it continues. I noticed a split. His big games are all early games. In primetime and night games, late games, he's been basically throwing all duds. I don't know if it's a thing, but we'll see tonight. If it does happen tonight and he throws a dud, I'm going to be a firm believer.
Whether or not the guy's a morning person. Interesting.
Could be. Bizzleman needs Mark Andrews less than 11.8. Cooked?
It's tight end. I mean, we know Likely's involved. He could potentially be the guy this week. Are you cooked? No. Definitely far from cooked. Honestly, I would say this is going to be a coin flip for you.
Yeah, Andrews has had several games under 12 points, so I think you got a good chance. And the Chargers are a tough defense. And with Likely playing, Andrews is less active in the offense. So I don't think you're cooked just yet. See, Sammy, same thing. You mentioned Saquon is out. I mentioned the Zay Flowers night thing. I agree. So what do you think? Dobbins over Zay? It's PPR, though.
Ooh, I mean, I guess it depends on whether or not you need, like, cemented points. I mean, Dobbins, I think you can feel pretty certain about he's going to get you somewhere between 7 and 10 no matter what. Zay Flowers could get you anywhere from 3 to 30. So I think Zay Flowers has more upside, but Dobbins, I think, becomes a little bit better with Roquan out. And I mean, I still think he's going to be splitting work with Gus Bus. But even there, I think it depends on how much upside you need. If you need something like 15, 20 points to win, I'd go Flowers. If you just need something that's not going to kill you, go Dobbins.
Yep, agree. I'm not loving Flowers tonight, or should I say I'm not trusting him. But if you need upside, it's the Flower side. So in PPR, and generally speaking, I would still go with the receiver. He shouldn't give you absolutely nothing. They'll use him. So, yeah, kind of comes down to what you need. Okay, Landon is an interesting one. Najee for Tracy Jr., Tyrone Tracy, who did not have a big game because he coughed it up again, and after that, he got sent to the bench.
Yeah, I am not buying on Tracy right now. I mean, I know Najee struggled, but it was a snow game. I consider pretty much anything out of that game an anomaly. Tracy's now fumbled twice, and we saw him kind of get punished for it last week, even though you're punishing Tracy, but you're also starting Tommy DeVito at quarterback. What kind of thought process is this here? But yeah, Tracy, I'm not trading for at the moment, especially for Najee. We've seen Najee do pretty well. This feels like kind of this past weekend overreaction for sure.
I think at this point, Brian Daboll and the Giants are just punishing all of us, making us watch the excuse for an offense. Yeah, this is not a good time to buy Tracy. No. Corey Miller, question in the comments. Here we go. Wow. Okay, you started Devon Vele. Props to you. Chris was pretty high on Vele this week. And Abdullah got the win. Are they droppable now for the Bengals defense? Have the Texans defense in it? I don't know. I'm not holding a defense for the bye week, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't looked at the playoff schedule for defenses for that particular stretch of time, but I'd consider dropping Abdullah. I don't know what the status is. Like, I think looks like Madison might miss again this week. I don't know about Zamir White, but Vele I'm a lot more on. I think he has that wide receiver 2 gig locked down for Denver. I think he's the guy, and I think somebody you can feel confident starting going forward as a flex option. Abdullah is 100% a rental guy. Once Madison's ready to come back, I think he'll be the guy, but also I'm not sure how much I want a guy. Even if it is PPR and Abdullah does catch passes, I do not necessarily want a running back on potentially the worst offense in the league.
Yeah, I completely agree. It kind of mentioned all that with Abdullah. This is if you need somebody, if you're desperate, if you're just looking for somebody who can get you some points. But I would just say I looked at the schedule. The Texans this week don't have a bye. They're a week 14 bye. This week they get the Jaguars. Like, you want the Texans defense this week. So if you're looking like to drop a player for a defense for 2 weeks from now, like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm just not. So I wouldn't pick up the Bengals defense just to stash them just for a bye week. I'm sure there's another defense you can play in week 14 that is passable.
Yeah, especially the Bengals defense. Like, they don't force turnovers. They don't force sacks. Like, I don't know their schedule off the top of my head, but I mean, unless they're facing somebody like the Raiders or the Jets, I don't want them.
Right. Well, exactly. And if there's a defense I'm stashing now, it's not going to be the Bengals. I'm looking here just because I was curious. Week 14, which is when Houston will be on bye, they played Dallas, which, you think, well, yeah, Cooper Rush actually didn't look too bad yesterday. I mean, he didn't turn the ball over a whole lot. So, no, would not do this. Jay's life. Keon Coleman or Elijah Moore rest of the season?
Ooh, interesting. I think I'd want Coleman. He looked like he was coming on well before he got injured. I think he does have more upside with Josh Allen rest of the season. Elijah Moore is interesting, but I think he is going to be the 2 on this team with, as much as it pains me to say it, Jerry Jeudy. He looks like he's the 1 on that team. But yeah, Keon Coleman, I think, has more upside. And with Josh Allen, he's hands down the better quarterback. I think I would go him the rest of the season.
Yeah. And again, keep mentioning with the Browns, it's just the schedule does not let up. They have a really tough slate against pass defenses almost every single week. So I would go for the upside of Keon Coleman as well, too. And then Thomas, would you consider flexing Thielen or Westbrook-Ikine over D-Hop? I guess we're looking ahead to next week. So let's see. Thielen, I did mention as a possible pickup. You got to like Thielen's matchup. It's the Bucks. Westbrook-Ikine gets the – hold on. Titans get the Commanders.
Over D-Hop. And who's D-Hop get?
D-Hop gets the Raiders.
D-Hop gets the Raiders. I would take Thielen over D-Hop. I would not take Westbrook-Ikine over D-Hop. I mean, 6 touchdowns on 16 catches? That's completely sustainable for fantasy, right? Yeah, no. Yeah. Eventually, he's going to bust. I mean, sure, we know Levis is a cannon. He's in a good system for those long bombs, but I gotta say, I was really, really impressed with the Panthers last week. Like, I was kind of going in there doubting them, thinking they would get absolutely steamrolled. And the Bryce Young and the Panthers hung with the Chiefs for a full 60 minutes of football. I was really, really surprised with that. I think Thielen could be in for a good game this week against the Bucs.
Yep. I wouldn't say a believer, but I'm at least willing to roster Adam Thielen and play him this week. And
there's a loss you can feel good about. It was the Panthers.
Yeah. No, honestly, without, going overboard, Bryce Young has made huge strides, since early in the season. And he looks good. It gets a very tough defense, and they blitzed the hell out of him, and he responded. I mean, they lost. It wasn't because of him, right? It's because the defense just couldn't stop Pat Mahomes at the end of the game. No shame in that. But I think Thielen's going to be a pretty productive player over the rest of the season. And then this is a trade-off. This is a blockbuster. Taco cheese. is being offered Josh Allen and Josh Jacobs for Jaden Daniels and either Kyron or Brees. So which side do you prefer?
Ooh. Definitely like Allen over Daniels. And Jacobs. I'm actually okay. Yeah, I would do this. I would do this for either one. And if I have to pick the guy I kick off, I think I'm kicking, as much as it pains me, I think I'm kicking Kyron off over Brees. If only because I'm mildly hopeful that maybe they do bench Aaron Rodgers. We see Tyrod Taylor, and he'll throw some screens over to Brees because we've seen what he can do if you just chuck him the ball a few times. He gets a few screen passes, and suddenly he's getting 100, 150 yards from scrimmage every week. And with a few passes, he's easily getting 15, 20 points a game. I don't think that upside exists for Kyron right now. His running metrics haven't been all that good. He's not catching passes. And yeah, Jaden Daniels, I mean, sure, for the first few, I would say he did not look great until the second half of that game easily. And yeah, we're kind of seeing the rookie sizzle kind of fade a little bit with Jaden Daniels. So yeah, I would definitely take Josh Jacobs and Josh Allen and Josh Jacobs for Daniels and Kyron.
Agreed. I'll take the Joshes here. It's a fair trade. I'm trying to reason out why is somebody doing this. They want Jaden Daniel. I'm not sure what the thought is here, but yeah,
selling high on Jacobs maybe, but this ain't really selling high.
It's not, yeah, exactly. I'm not sure what's unsustainable there, but anyways. And got a couple more questions for tonight. Let's see. Needle Ninja James got a 15-point lead going against Flowers.
I'd say 60-40 you win, but yeah, Flowers is, again, we've been over this a few times. He could get you anywhere from 3 to 30 points. So what's it going to be? Who knows?
This is going to come down to whether he reaches the end zone or not. Is he big touchdown or not? I'll put the non-existent money on your side, Needle Ninja. I'll say that's who I go with. Vizzo up 34 with Zay. We'll go against Lamar and Ladd and Disley.
I think you're in good shape here. Flowers gets 10. That's 44 against Lamar, Ladd, and the Chargers. If I was going to say, if Herbert goes ballistic, you might be in trouble. But, yeah, I think I would say you've got a pretty good chance of pulling the win out.
Yeah, that's a pretty hefty lead. I'll just say, let's say Zay, even if he doesn't have a big game, he and Disley could cancel each other out. Ladd would need a big game here, right? Which he very well could have, but you're hoping that he has a big game and Lamar has a pretty good game and that Disley matches Zay Flowers or not by much. So I think you got a very good shot here too. Okay, what about Kale Zielinski? Henry and Herbert against Lamar and Andrews down 5.
This will be interesting. I think you've got Lamar is probably the guy who scores the most, but Herbert and Henry are probably going to make up for more than that. Really kind of comes down to Andrews. I think this is going to be very, very close. Very close.
Well, I don't feel like this will come down to whether Andrews scores or does anything big, and I don't feel like it's a great Andrews week. I'd much rather have Henry. I think out of the last 3 we've done, I think I like your situation the best, Kale. If I had to pick one, I think you got a good shot here. Okay, this Ricky Turbo. I don't know if this is a trade question. Monty and BTJ or Tracy Bowers and the Slim Reaper.
I mean, I don't know what your tight end situation is. If I don't have an elite tight end, if I've got a Kincaid, or if you had to do what I did in the league last week, started Austin Hooper. But yeah, if you've got, if you're weak at tight end, I don't mind this, but I would need to be very, very hurting a tight end in order to make this move. BTJ, definitely a big, big upgrade over Devonta Smith. Monty, I would take over Tracy. Really just comes down to how bad they need Bowers. And unless you are scraping the bottom of the barrel here for Bowers, or if it's a tight end premium league, I would want the Monty and BTJ side.
Yeah, exactly. You're taking on a lot of risk here. Well, don't know which side you'd be getting because you didn't say, Ricky. But if you're taking the Tracy Bowers Smith side, you're taking on risk to get Bowers. But I agree. I think I'd rather have the Monty BTJ side. It's a good time to buy low on Brian Thomas Jr. Great time. Dustin is down 37, but with Herbert and QJ. Chances.
You are going to need some good QJ scoring here. If he gets 2 touchdowns, I think you got this in the bag, but it's a mighty big ask for QJ to get 2 touchdowns. So, yeah. Do you have a good chance? No. Do you have a chance? Yes.
Well put. I will say this too. Herbert has been running more, could run in a touchdown. I mean, I feel like Herbert could have 25 plus points, so you don't need QJ to do too much. But yeah, you're definitely going to need this to be a high scoring game for the Chargers to do something. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's a good chance, but it's a chance. And so we're going to know somebody we're watching. Don't know if we'll see. Our guy Rise Above Anything is in the building at SoFi already. Nice.
Oh, hell yeah.
Guarantee a good game. What about Alejandro Botron needs 51 from Henry, QJ, and Dicker?
You kind of need a miracle here. I mean, even if Derrick Henry gets you 30 points, you still need 21 out of Quentin Johnson and Dicker, which, I mean, isn't completely unheard of, but that's still a mighty big ask from Henry and kind of everybody involved, really. Yeah, I wouldn't be feeling too good here. It's possible.
Yeah, like if one of those players was a quarterback, I might feel better, but it's a kicker and a QJ, so close to a miracle. Sir Boomer, what is up, Sir Boomer? Wow, re-upping it for not 12, but 13 months. All right. 12 team. Looking for week 13. We need 2 receivers, 2 running backs, a tight end, and flex. I love that he just clinched the playoffs. He's first place. He's 10-2. He's already setting his lineup a week ahead of time. Looking to crush. I like it. It's like Dan Campbell in the fourth quarter. We're not letting up. JD, Love, HN, Monty, Bucky, Pacheco, Wright, Chase, Nico, Cooper, Ladd, Downs, Tillman, Ingram, Disley. Would you drop one of those? Well, I guess Disley for Noah Gray. I think you're saying no to that.
Yeah, I am not doing that one. As far as setting the lineup goes there, JD or Love, I will take JD for quarterback. This week, anyway. HN, Monty, Bucky, Pacheco, Wright. HN for sure. Who's Bucky get this week? They get the Panthers. Yeah, I think I'm going HN. Yeah, HN, Bucky. Tight end, I'd go Ingram as long as we got T-Law in there, and then your wide receiver and flex. Chase, Nico. Okay, yep. And then flex. Downs probably not playing. Tillman concussed.
Ladd gets
Monty, or Pacheco is where I'm down, though.
Yeah, Ladd gets the Falcons. Okay, so yeah, go JD, HN, Bucky, Chase, Nico. Man, to me, it's almost do I flex Ladd or do I flex Monty?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. I'd probably wait for injury reports just to make sure Monty's 100% and not questionable. If Monty's a full go, I'd say go Monty. If he's at all questionable, then I would go Lad.
There you go. All right, Boomer, keep it going. Don't take the foot off the gas pedal. NTY, going forward, can't trust Deebo. Well, good news. You got Nico St. Brown, Cook, Pollard, Otten, or Ertz, flexing Connor. You've had it with Deebo. Okay, but even in a 10-teamer, I'm going to say don't drop Deebo.
Correct. You did definitely don't rage drop. Rage bench, by all means. Drop, don't do it unless there's some guys that are just going to be booty all year. So, but yeah, Deebo, I'm not putting Deebo on that list yet.
Right. Things change quickly in the NFL. Good example just popped to mind. It was 2-3 weeks ago. We were saying, forget it. JSN is a bomb. It's not happening. You can't start JSN. Things changed. Things change quickly. So just sure, you have Nico and St. Brown, fine. You don't have to start Deebo. But Connor, I don't even know. I'm a little hesitant about Connor these days, but he still gets the touches. So I think you can bench Deebo this week, and that'll teach him his lesson. Steven, what do you think Scary Terry? What is he to you? A solid wide receiver 2 or just like a flex?
I think he is a wide receiver 2 for me, simply because we know he is the favorite target in Washington. It's not like he's one of these MVS guys where that's all he does. On top of that, we know he is when they're looking for Terry, they're looking for Terry, and they're looking for him every week. For me, he's a solid wide receiver 2.
He's clearly the number 1 receiver in his offense, and there's no threat of that changing. And sure, he's going to kind of boom or bust on a given week. Name me a wide receiver who hasn't busted at all this year. Any. We got 3 straight games of Justin Jefferson doing very little. Amon-Ra St. Brown has had some down weeks. That's just how it is, right? So he's been mostly really good. It just feels like he hasn't been because he had a really bad game last week, and then he would have had a really bad game if not for that one really long touchdown. But he's one of those few players that can go for a really long touchdown at any point. So I think he's a boom bust wide receiver 2. Or both. Okay, so let's get to JSN because Chris Laborde, JSN apparently is staking his claim to be the top receiver in Seattle, but are you all the way bought into him?
I'm not in on him. I do think DK Metcalf is the better wide receiver and has more touchdown upside, but yeah, JSN is firmly entrenched as maybe not even just as a wide receiver 2 in Seattle, maybe like a 1B, 1A type of scenario now in Seattle. Tyler Lockett is a very, very distant third. He's somebody I want no part of in fantasy going forward. They don't really have any other receiving options that really worry me. So, yeah, as far as JSN goes, I think we can firmly put him in the solid to strong start tier for sure every week.
We have to. And I'll say, a couple of things because you always want to be flexible, open to information, readjust your stances. I was all in on JSN. If you look at the draft videos, our breakout videos, right? These guys are going to break out the season. I talk about Jason over and over again. I was big on him. And that's why it was so kind of shocking to me and disappointing that throughout the first half of the season, maybe not first half, of the first few games, he had a couple of big games. He took advantage of DK being out one time. He had a random big game, and he let down in some smash spots. With DK out, I remember this one, I was all in on him against the Giants. He did nothing. He got 3 catches or something. And the separation score was bad. It wasn't happening for him. And so then it was okay, I obviously was a little too early on him, or it's just not going to happen or whatever. And then we had to be out on him based on what we were seeing, which was poor performance. And now it's changed. Okay, fine. I'm back in on him. But I was really big on JSN all preseason. So this is what I was expecting to see all along. And now we're seeing it. So I'm all the way Okay, maybe not all the way. I'm mostly back in on Jason being him. Doug Fenton, down 8, but got Flowers. I think you got a chance.
You got a very good chance here. You would need one of those Flowers bust weeks in order to lose here.
And even so, 8 points. I mean, just a couple catches. You should be good. Carl is up 35. He has his kicker and tight ends. Don't even know which kicker or tight end, but I still think you should feel good.
Yeah, I don't think there's a combination here that makes me think you got anything to sweat about here. You should have this in the bag.
Right. Off the wall cleaning services. All right. Got Herbert up 15, but opponent has Lamar.
I think you got a pretty good shot. I don't think Lamar's going to outscore Herbert by 15 here. I think this is you got a little to worry about, but I think you probably have more like an 80-20 shot of pulling this off.
Yeah, this was like a 5-point lead. Okay, I don't know, but you got a cushion, and technically Herbert has the better matchup than Lamar does. I mean, this should definitely go your way. Live wire. What's good? Up by 16. The opponent has Dobbins left. Thoughts?
Up by 16, you got Dobbins left. I think you're hoping for a Gus Bus revenge week is what you're hoping for. If we see a split, this is definitely going to favor you if it's all Dobbins. But I'd feel pretty confident. I don't think we see a 16-point game out of Dobbins.
Yeah, I'm not expecting a big Dobbins game. You know, one thing the Ravens can do is shut down the run. Dobbins isn't getting as many touches, so it could come down to the wire potentially, but it'll be close. And earlier in Boomer had said, like, why would it be a revenge game for Dobbins? Like, if anything, they should be pissed because he's the one who never played for them and whatever. But just, this is the way it is. The definition. Anytime a player goes against a team he used to play for, it's just automatically a revenge game. It doesn't matter if they're like, you know, the best of terms. It's just revenge game. Done. It just makes it nice and tidy. And then the spirit of Chris, yes, you got thoughts and prayers for Chris, who's battling a cold. He's under the weather right now, but don't worry. He'll
be back.
He'll be back tomorrow. He'll be back. Jay's life. Okay, so now Keon Coleman or Adam Thielen rest of the season.
Ooh. I still think I got to go Coleman. I mean, Thielen, what do we truly – I think he's got a great matchup this week. But rest of season, how comfortable can we feel about a very old, very dusty Thielen? And sure, Bryce Young has looked great, but he's not Josh Allen, nor do I think he's ever going to be. I'd rather have Keon Coleman.
Yeah, I am intrigued by Thielen. He's definitely worth an ad. He can get you some points, but I don't think we're going to see last year's early version of Adam Thielen necessarily. So, look, I can see this going either way in terms of points going forward rest of the season, but Coleman still does have the upside. He's still in a better position, so probably go to Coleman. Daniel Garcia, apologies if we didn't do this one earlier. I thought we did. Waddle or Reed rest of the season?
I think we talked about this, but we didn't talk rest of season. As far as rest, both these guys are kind of in the same position. At this point, though, I think I'd rather go Waddle. If for no other reason than the Packers have shown a tendency to kind of just grind games out through Jacobs, and that's that. Ultimately, it kind of comes down to what offense do I feel better about, what quarterback do I feel better about, and I feel better about Tua than I do about Jordan Love right now. I think Waddle does have a little more competition than Reed does, but at the same point, it's like Waddle, I think I can look at a matchup with him and be like, all right, he's going to be good this week or he's not going to be good this week. Reed, we really don't know. There's no way to really truly predict.
Yeah, this again, very similar type players, right? Frustrating. In other words, the question it comes down to, was this kind of like a tipping point for Waddle? Does this mean all of a sudden he's going to be more involved? And really his target share wasn't more than usual. He got a little bit more, but not not like they were going only to him. It's just he finally made some of those explosive plays, and he was getting targets throughout the season. It's just not doing much with him. So hard to say, but I do think I would lean towards Waddle in his side because technically, even though Jonnu Smith and HN, like you said, be getting more involved, the Packers is still, it's kind of like a roulette wheel, right? Who's going to get it today? Christian Watson. All right, you win. You're going to be the leading receiver. Who is it tomorrow? Romeo Doubs. Okay, sure. And sometimes it's nobody because it's Josh Jacobs just grinding it out. And the Dolphins aren't really doing that this year. They are passing it a little bit more because Raheem Mostert has just suddenly evaporated and turned to dust. So I hate to overreact to 1 week, but I do think that this looks better for Waddle than Reed going forward. And then we got Triggs, 10-team PPR, JD Hall, Kyron, Collins, Adams, Otten, Chase Brown, Neighbors, Myers, Waddle. Where to improve, who to trade away. Okay, do you see a sell high opportunity for Waddle here? Do you want to get off of Adams? Do you want to sell any of these players? What about Neighbors?
Neighbors would be a guy I'm thinking about selling, but I don't think I'm going to get much for him at this point either. I think you're pretty maybe quarterback might be your biggest weakness, honestly, and Otten might. I was going to say I think I gave Otten a pass for last week just because they didn't need to throw much. But yeah, I think your biggest weakness is quarterback. Which I mean, with JD, I think you're streaming honestly at this point. Maybe you've got Jets or Devontae Adams believer in your league. I would flip him if I could. Myers' situation's intriguing, but I don't really think it's going to change from what it was. And I mean, worst case scenario, we see Heineke in there. And is Heineke really any worse than Gardner Minshew was for Myers? And I really don't think so. Yeah, I don't think there's. I would get out of Adams if possible, but if you can't, oh well, yeah. And this team is pretty good. I think the only thing you really need to worry about is QB.
Yeah, it's Adams for me, the one I would try to move on from. But again, what are you getting from him right now? Probably not a lot, but you could try. But if you can do a package deal, maybe somebody's hurting at receiver. Who knows? Maybe you could package a guy with name value like Adams, who even though hasn't done much lately, with a guy who doesn't have that name value but is coming off a big game like Myers or Waddle. Try to include him. So maybe put Adams together with one of those last two players to just get a more consistent, solid receiver.
I was going to say Adams and Waddle for Puka or something like that might go well, or even AJ Brown.
That would be nice.
I would consider as well.
Here you go. Oh, and then Corey Miller. We did one earlier, but he had another one. Let's do this. It's fighting for the bye. Okay. We got Stroud, Connor Jones, Amon-Ra, London, Jamar Chase, Kittle, Akers, Benson Valet, Abdullah, and stash in the defense. Okay. Will Stroud screw me is the question.
Stroud, I'm kind of done. I was thinking, why is Stroud so bad this year? And I was kind of thinking, all right, maybe it's just because Joe Mixon's there. They are throwing for less touchdowns than they were last year. They didn't have anybody who could kind of pound the football in last year with Singletary, and they do this year with Mixon. No, Stroud is just not looking good. We are seeing a major slump from him. If my top QB is Stroud, I am definitely looking to stream for sure. At QB. Will Stroud screw you? I think he's going to disappoint. He probably will make sure that maybe you make it to the semis and get bounced there, I feel like. But, yeah, I would definitely want to be upgrading QB for sure.
Yeah, he might. He might screw you. I mean, he's not going to outright kill you single-handedly, but you obviously want a better situation going into the playoffs if you're one of the top seeds. Again, we don't usually advocate trading for a quarterback during the season because you wind up overpaying and you might regret it. But look, you have really good receivers. You got a stud tight end. Your depth is a little iffy, not going to lie. I think what might be more concerning on this team is you don't have one of those RB1s. You don't have a Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, one of those guys who's just slaughtering the opponent week after week. There's so many stud running backs. You're going to go up against one. You're going to go up against somebody who has Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, and you don't have that. So you're hoping Connor has a good game. You're hoping Aaron Jones has a good game, or that your receivers carry you. So I'm not sure what you could do. Honestly, that's the thing. I don't see a lot of trade value on the bench. That's the problem.
Yeah, you've got 3 elite wide receivers on this team. Maybe what you need to do is tear down a little bit. Maybe sell. I was going to say, I know Jamar. If I had to say somebody whose value is inflated right now that might let down the stretch, granted this is banking on Higgins staying healthy, but Jamar Chase, maybe you can tear down for him and go get somebody like I was going to say, like an A.J. Brown at a running back, or maybe like Waddle and a running back to kind of boost your because Connor and Jones, I mean, you definitely got the decrepit running backs for sure that might fade down the stretch. And your handcuffs here, sure, okay, you got Benson handcuffing Connor, that's a good move. Abdullah, he's a rental. Akers, okay, so you have handcuffed your running back, so I guess that's a good move there, but. Yeah, it's just your running backs don't give you super upside. I mean, your running backs are just meh, but I think your wide receiver room, though, is so good that it might get you through. But quarterback is definitely going to be an issue for you for sure.
Yeah, and, it's a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? How can you trade an elite receiver? But you know what? If you get enough back, it might actually wind up improving your team. And I would express some concerns with Connor. Startable for sure, but again, when you get to the playoffs, you're going to be facing the best teams, and they're going to have those stud running backs and those big points, and you're a little less reliability out of your receivers. Honestly, the guy I might trade is Amon-Ra St. Brown because he's been less consistent this year. And that running game has been so good. And his playoff schedule is not great for receivers against the Buffalo Bills, Chicago Bears, Niners on the road. So if you could trade St. Brown and get a really good running back, or maybe even a guy who could wind up being an upgrade, like a Chase Brown, let's say, who probably, you could get with another receiver, like you said, tear down. I mean, like a Chase Brown and a JSN, you could get that. I think that might increase your depth. But as far as Stroud, he's okay, but not sure what else you could do other than try to pick up a better one off the waiver wire. All right, then Chris LeBoard, we got a few minutes. Monday Night Football is about to kick off, and you guys are going to want to watch the game. Chris LeBoard says Jonnu Smith needs to be just a must start. You agree with that?
Must start? I don't know if I'm quite there with him yet. Strong start, absolutely, but it's matchup dependent. At this point now, we know what teams are going to be strong against tight end and which ones are not. I'm not putting Jonnu Smith up there with the George Kittles of the world just yet. But he's getting there. Another big game, I think he may be.
Yeah, look, I understand. You look at the numbers. I mean, now one of the top scoring tight ends, and he's coming off 2 big games back to back. So, I mean, you might be right. If you have Jonnu Smith, you're probably starting him unless you have Trey McBride, Brock Bowers, George Kittle. I mean, I don't even know. Travis Kelce, maybe. But we'll see. We're going to record soon. Anthony just realized he's down 13 by against a certain weather beast. He's done. I have Dobbins. What do you think? Who takes it?
I think we're going to be sweating on this one. 13, I think, would pretty much be right where I would put Dobbins at for PPR points tonight.
13 for Dobbins. Not feeling a big Dobbins game, so not just because he happens to be virtually sitting next to me, but I'm going to lean on the side of the weather beast. But we'll see. It'll be down to the wire. Jennifer is up 31, and she has Andrews. Yeah, I think you're good.
Yes, you are. You Saquon your opponent, you're good.
Exactly. This is exactly it. Sometimes one guy can just carry you to victory. And then Dustin got a question for next week. Which three? Sutton, Judy, Neighbors, Amari, Pittman. Pittman's interesting. I mean, not only the number one receiver yesterday, but Downs, it sounds like he's out next week, possibly the week after as well.
Yeah, Downs week to week definitely puts Pittman in for a prime matchup. But, and yeah, Patriots haven't exactly been great against stopping the pass these days either. So I think he's looking likely. Sutton's been on fire. I think he's somebody you got to start pretty much regardless of matchup at this point. Let me just take a quick peek at the matchups here for that. All right, who's Judy got? Judy's got. Oh, come on. Never mind. All righty. So, yeah, Sutton. Yeah, Amari's right out. Sutton, Pittman, and I think I would go Judy and just not have to worry about the. Dallas though. Dallas. I think I'm going Sutton, Neighbors, Pittman.
Yeah, I'll go Pittman because, again, the target share will be nice. I'm not going to Amari because I need to see him actually be productive in a Bills uniform first. Sutton, I think, is almost, okay, not must start, but very strong start. Yeah, so I like Sutton, I like Pittman. I mean, I know it was disappointing, but am I really going to sit Neighbors for a guy like Judy? No, I still think I got to go Neighbors. All right, and then Brandon Bryce, he's 27. Who's going to give it to him, Zay or Ladd?
I think I'd be going Ladd here for the upside. I mean, I know Zay is capable, but how likely is he to be the guy versus, say, Andrews or Likely or Bateman? Ladd, I think, could get you there. I don't think it's likely with either one, but I think Ladd gives you a better chance.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if this is good news or bad news, but it probably doesn't matter. But if you're going to look for upside here, I'd go Ladd based on matchup. So let's just leave it at that and say good luck. All right, good luck to everybody who still has something in play for tonight. Should be a good one. And thank you all for watching. As always, hit the like button if you like this. Hit the subscribe button and a notification so you know when we go live. We'll be back tomorrow. And big thank you, as always, to Keith joining us on Monday night. And Keith, good luck to you and all your teams, especially if you're going against Anthony.
Appreciate that. Thank you all. Thank you all.
All right, guys. So we will see you on the next time. And don't forget, videos already dropping for week 13. You've already seen a couple. Start to Sit will be coming out tomorrow morning. So we'll hopefully see you there. Oh, one more question. All right, fine. Carl, because he's got the membership. What? This is already for next week? Okay, fine. Let's do it. It's Carl. Half PPR, 1 quarterback, 3 receivers, 2 running backs, 2 flex. Lover Murray. Murray, you're talking about a disappointment. What happened to Kyler?
I mean, both these guys are disappointing a little bit, but I think I would lean Murray here. Murray gets the I think he gets the Vikings, and I know Love gets Miami, and I feel better about Murray there.
Agree.
Then your wide receivers, AJ Brown, Higgins. All right. I think I'm going AJ Brown, Higgins, and London here.
2 running backs.
Kyron, Connor, Dowdle, Pacheco. Pacheco is going to be a game time decision want to hear about injury reports and what kind of workload he's rumored to get. I think I'd probably be going Kyron and Pacheco for me personally. Dowdle's interesting. He might actually score more than 12 points this week. Might, but anyway, and now flex. If I'm starting Murray, do I want to time myself even further with Marvin Harrison? Honestly, you know what? I think I'm going DJ Moore. He looked pretty good last week. He looked like that connection's budding with Caleb Williams. They look good. I think that momentum can carry through. And, the Cardinals' defense doesn't scare me. I think, Moore's going to be my flex here.
Agree. DJ Moore coming off a big game. That offense keeps getting better. All right, there you go, Carl. Got the expert advice from Keith. Thank you, everybody. Good luck tonight, and we'll see you tomorrow.